morning everybody, and welcome to this week's video. I hope we've got enough light for you to see me on the camera this morning. If you watched last week's video, you'll know that I was looking at getting a new lens. I've taken delivery of that new lens, which is the Tamron F5-6.3 G2. Now I had various reasons for getting that lens. One of the main ones was that I wanted to do more bird photography, and I felt like I needed a little bit more reach. Now I've got a couple of projects ongoing at the minute where hopefully I'm going to be able to get to use the lens for that purpose. But one of the other reasons that I went with the Tamron was that at 400mm it gives me an extra stop of light. So my Sigma 100-400, when it's at 400mm, it's wide open at f6.3. The Tamron is at 400mm is wide open at 5.6, so I get an extra stop of light. Now I wouldn't say that's particularly important for a lot of bird photography, but as a mammal photographer as well, it's often early in the morning or late in the evening when I'm taking those images, and that extra stop of light would be really helpful. So it wasn't the main reason for getting it, but it was a reason, a little bonus if you like. So this morning what I'm trying to do is just do a little bit of testing with that in mind, to see how this lens performs, hopefully on Roe Deer. I've got a Roe Deer in front of me at the minute, but she's a long way away. I'm hoping she comes back this way, but you never really can tell. So anyway, that's the plan this morning, and yeah, we'll see how we get on. Right, so this new lens, I want to thoroughly test it, and obviously I want to do a lot more bird photography this year. Just let me stretch my legs out. Yeah, I want to do a lot more bird photography this year, so with that in mind, I've got a couple of projects ongoing at the moment. I'm actually looking for a barn owl site at the minute, which is proving quite difficult this year. Generally I have a couple of sites that I've used in the past down close to where I live. As you'll know, if I can, I do like to stick to close to home and use my local area. One, because I know that. So if you know an area, you know you're more familiar with it, you know what animals are there. If you go to somewhere new, you're starting from scratch really, which takes a lot more time. So by sticking local, I can generally, on most occasions, get what I want. But as I've mentioned numerous times before in my recent videos, this area where I live was absolutely devastated by flooding earlier this year. So actually this hide that I'm in, this hide that I made is made up of all the driftwood and stuff that came down the Trent and sat in the field. So what that's meant for some of the projects, so like my two sites where I normally go and take images of barn owls, there's no barn owls there this year. I've not seen any, and that's simply because I assume that the food supply is dried up. You know, all the voles and stuff that they'd normally eat have perished in the flooding, so that's going to take time to you know, come back. So what that's forced me to do is look at new areas which I'm not as familiar with. Now I've got an area where I used to see little owls, and I saw little owls sort of earlier in the year there. Then I've been up about 3 times and not seen anything, but I went up earlier this week and I've seen a little owl there. So it may be that I can do some little owl photography. That's another project I'm working on. Actually, while I was there, a barn owl flew past as well, so I'm after a little bit of local intelligence there, because I know the little owls, there's potential for the little owls there. I'm not quite sure where the barn owls are feeding. I seem to remember a few years ago when I went up there, I had a conversation with the farmer, and he said they'd got barn owls. So if I can catch hold of the farmer again, he may be able to give me more information, and that can move that project on a little bit further. Right, I think this deer is actually making its way back towards me. I'm not sure how far she'll come though. I think she'll probably pop into the wood a bit further up there, but we'll see. have shot some images with this lens a couple of days ago, actually, up on Ossington Airfield. It's one of the potential places I was looking for barn owls, because I have seen them up there before. But what I did notice up there, and what I took an image of, was hares. And if you'll remember, probably about a month ago, perhaps a little bit more, I did a video on hares, and I was looking for, you know, how to photograph hares, and I was doing that video down here actually, which was a really difficult video to do, because again, something that I think's been devastated by flooding. There just weren't that many around. So I went up on Ossington Airfield to look at a potential barn owl site, and there were hares everywhere. It was really good. So I think this image came out particularly well. I'll have to say I had a particularly obliging hare that even ran towards me at the end when I was laid down in the field. But the lens performed faultlessly, and again, poor light. One of the things that I did notice was it was really windy that day, and it was a side wind, and what I ended up doing was taking the lens hood off, simply because the lens hood on this lens is really big, which is useful for if you've got sunny conditions, but it really was catching the wind and pulling the lens in my hand. It was so windy, so I took that off, and immediately that eased that issue and enabled me to get this image. So yeah, I hope you enjoy that one, and as I say, we'll wait here and see if this deer does come out a little bit further down. Oh, just when you think that it looks like she's bringing the youngster out. Just let me film this. The youngster's actually come out with her on the edge of the woodland. So I'm just, that youngster is probably twice or 3 times the size it was when I last saw it about 4 to 6 weeks ago. So it's really grown, really doing well. Oh, that's nice to see. You never really know whether, you know, these things survive or not, but certainly that one looks to be doing well. Brilliant. I'm going to have to be careful getting back through the wood. In fact, I might take the long way around just to keep out of it, because she's brought it closer this way. So whether she'll be bedding it down somewhere in this area here, which I'll just head that way and make my way down the side of the river and do the long way back to get out of here, because I don't want to disturb it. But oh, that was really nice to see. Brief but nice. She's actually still coming towards me. The youngster's gone into the woods, so I'll see if I can get a few images of her as she comes towards me. I'll just switch it to camera. The light levels are still terrible, even though it's nearly 7 o'clock. Towards me. Into the wood. Right, I hope you've enjoyed this video this morning. It was nice to see the youngster again. I've not seen it for probably about 6 weeks, and it really has sort of tripled in size. Probably it's lost all its spots that they have when they're first born. So yeah, it was really nice to see that. I'm going to have to be really careful now getting from here, because it looks like she's brought it close to this side of the wood where I normally cross, and I don't want to disturb it this morning, so I'm going to be really careful sort of getting out of the hide here, and I'll make my way actually, I think, to the river, and then cut all the way back across well out of the way of the little woodland here, so that I don't disturb her or her youngsters. So yeah, it was brilliant to see it. I'm so pleased to see it in this this morning, because as I say, I've not been in this wood for such a long time, because I've been trying to keep out of her way really. I didn't want to cause any problems by spooking her or the youngsters, so that's really, really nice to see. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Be another one along shortly. I'm not sure what it will be on, depends how the barn owl and the little owl shoots go. I may even slip a little landscape photography video in there somewhere along the way, because I know we are hoping to get away and do a little bit of landscape photography as well. Now we can move around the country a little bit more. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you for the next one. If you've not subscribed to the channel, then please consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you shortly. Bye. Okay, this last image, I just wanted to mention that although I could have shot f5.6 on this shot, what you have to remember with some subjects, especially things like deer, is that because they've got quite long faces, if you get the eye in focus, which is what you're always aiming to do, the nose may be out of focus because of the length of the face. So I just dropped it down to f6.3 for this particular shot, just to combat that.